I rise to contribute to the motion and at the outset wish to thank His Excellency for his gracious speech stating how his government has conducted itself since the general elections of September 2014 and what the next general elections mean to all our people. His Excellency spoke about the 2013 Constitution, the 2018 elections, where many of us will once again present ourselves with scrutiny before the electorate, his government's legislative agenda and Fiji's international role, particularly in climate change. More importantly, Madam Speaker, His Excellency rightly asserted the need to respect each other and urged us to commit to a higher standard of unity and democracy. His Excellency stated that it appears that it is easier for some of us to converse with each other in this august house rather than on the campaign trail. I wholeheartedly agree. To that end, I call on the government side to make good on the guidance of our President and offer us the opportunity to campaign together. If we are upfront in contesting our ideas in a rational manner to the electorate, it would hold democracy in good stead for Fiji and would also show exemplary form to our young people, many of whom will participate in elections for the first time in 2018 and have been through a turbulent political climate over the last 2 decades. Respect, unity, democracy are noble and critical ideas for any nation in the pursuit of genuine social, economic, and political advancement. It can be achieved through real consensus, dialogue, and negotiations in a climate devoid of fear of reprisal or retribution for expressing one's thoughts and utterances and conducting oneself with honesty and integrity, and most importantly, in the national interest. Madam Speaker, I wholeheartedly agree with His Excellency's emphasis on the need for us to walk and talk on the moral high ground. I respectfully differ with him on the statement that the 2013 Constitution is internationally acclaimed. A constitution is the foundation for good governance, transparency, ethical conduct, and above all, genuine parliamentary democracy. But I believe there is absence of it now, Madam Speaker. His Excellency reiterated his message during Constitution Day and went on further to suggest that the 2013 Constitution was a product of widespread consultations, even through letters and emails. Madam Speaker, the events leading to the formulation of the 2013 Constitution is well documented as follows. Number one, how the internationally acclaimed 1997 Constitution was abrogated. Number two, how the Constitution Commission chaired by Professor Yazgai was appointed. Number three, how widespread the Commission's consultations were and how the Commission's report was trashed. Four, how the Constituent Assembly was derailed by decreeing the need for existing political parties to re-register, thereby neutralizing them from participating in the process to formulate a draft constitution. And above all, Madam Speaker, number five, how the military government single-handedly railroaded and drafted the 2013 Constitution in a climate where public gatherings required permits and only one voice was allowed to prevail, that only of the military government. Madam Speaker, the Honorable Minister for Defense and National Security and myself are the only two serving members of this Parliament who have participated in a process of formulating a constitution through parliamentary democracy and inclusivity after widespread public consultations resulting in the Constitution Amendment Act of the 1997 that was, is and will be the only internationally acclaimed constitution of Fiji. And this is an indisputable fact, Madam Speaker. This is an indisputable fact, and the Attorney General should understand this. I'm not going to be distracted by him too. On and off sometimes, Madam Speaker, as defensive drivers, we need to have a good look at the rear view mirror, where we are going, who is coming behind us. As repeatedly highlighted by our party leader, the 2013 Constitution is subservient to decrees and promulgations that have been renamed as acts without being brought to ratification to the floor of this Parliament. If this is not a case of riding roughshod over parliamentary democracy, then what is? We don't hire Govis for $1 million or more to write our speeches. What bothers me, Madam Speaker, is the selective memory of some honourable government members, particularly on the front two benches. They are quick to interject and label honourable members as hypocrites when we talk about constitutional process in formulation of the 2013 Constitution and the 1997 Constitution. They have selective memory. They have selective memory. Picking and choosing history like a buffet when history is written in indelible ink. It is already written, cannot be erased. They are quick to criticize the coups of 1987 and 2000, but choose to deliberately forget the 2006 coup. They only focus on the 1990s. They only focus on the 1990 Constitution, Madam Speaker.
Order.
And may I remind this House that in 2000, the Honourable Prime Minister was the leader of the Fiji military forces. He could not control his guns. He is to be blamed for the 2000 coup, not the people. Madam Speaker, a coup is a coup. A coup is a coup. It is a power grab at gunpoint, and we have had the overbearing stench of coups in our nation 4 times in the last 30 years. In fact, I believe the abrogation of the 1997 Constitution on 10th April 2000.
Thank you. You may continue. Continue.
Madam Speaker, in fact, I believe the abrogation of the 1997 Constitution on 10th April 2009 and the trashing of the Fiji Court of Appeal judgment that ruled the actions of the military was illegal is similar to the second coup on 25th September 1987, when the Deumba Accord, which outlined a way forward after the first coup, was overthrown. I'm not going to be interpreted by those losers there. And the 2013 Constitution, similar to the 1990 Constitution, is born out of a military coup. As a party, the NFP has and will never support the toppling of a democratically elected government and usurping of parliamentary democracy, including any illegal act to topple the current government. God forbid this does not happen. God forbid this does not happen. Madam Speaker, we protested and opposed against every coup from 1987 to 2006. We haven't been a party to any coup. The Honourable Attorney General, he knows this very well. He was a member of Democracy 88, which was a group that together with political parties and Fiji Youth and Students League, of which our party leader was an integral member, were quite active in organizing peaceful protests.
The honourable member has made a comment about me, which is incorrect. He said that I was a member of some youth league in 1988. I was not a member of any youth league. I was not a member of any youth league. I was arrested. Let me clarify, Mr. Speaker, if I could. I was arrested in 1988 on the anniversary of the first coup in 1987, 14th of May at Sukuna Park, with 18 other people, with some Catholic priests and others. I was not a member of any youth league. I was there as my individual self. Change it. Change it.
Thank you,
I am very clear, Madam Speaker, he was a member of Democracy 88.
Order. Another point of order, it has been mentioned that you are misleading Parliament with what you have said. And based on my comment earlier on, if there's any misleading information, then it has to be corrected, and it has been corrected by the Honourable Attorney General. Please refrain from referring to that issue again and continue with your speech.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I withdraw that. He was part of the protesters. Protester. He didn't like the coup, but he supports it now after 2006. Shame. real shame. It is ironical that the Honorable Attorney General, like some other prominent leaders who were even victims of a coup, Madam Speaker, participated in...
Order. I've already said, do not refer to that issue again. It has been settled. Can you carry on your speech, but do not refer to that issue again.
Madam Speaker, I'm not referring to that. Anyway, I withdraw that, and what I say is that...
Order, I didn't ask you to withdraw. I didn't ask you to withdraw. It has been clarified, and you now will continue with your speech without referring back to the issue that you had just mentioned.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Simply, we understand that there are many people that were appointed to the military regime cabinet in 2007. But anyway, Madam Speaker, there are a lot of people who champion democracies. They should oppose coups, but they don't do it. It is very important. Madam Speaker, you will recall that in my budget response, I spent a great deal of time highlighting how our public healthcare system has become a blight on our nation. Just to repeat, take the words of the leader. I'm compelled to address it a little more today, in line with His Excellency's reminders on the Constitution, which in Section 38 affirms our right to health. Section 38(2) says, a person must not be denied emergency medical treatment, even though predictably, subsection 3 limits those rights by stating, in applying any right under this section, if the resources to implement the right, in applying any right under this section, if the state claims that it does not have the resources to implement the right, it is the responsibility of the state to show that the resources are not available. But they are not doing it, because some of the funds that went missing, 90-something million, they don't have a record of it. I'm disappointed, therefore, that there has been very little public update on the progress of recruitment of health specialists from India, despite a large delegation going there earlier this year for that express purpose. Madam Speaker, the Medical and Dental Practitioner Act was fast-tracked under Standing Order 51 in April this year. We had requested for more time for public consultation, but this was denied. What was then the agency for? His Excellency's guidance to us in his speech was that we were to seriously consider and carefully study legislation. If legislation continues to be fast-tracked under Standing Order 51 in this August House, Madam Speaker, then how can we evaluate and robustly discuss any proposed new legislations? There is a running tally that Honorable Gaboka has previously expressed of the number of bills passed under Standing Order 51. Madam Speaker, this tally does nothing to promote our standing as legislators. And let me say that government avoids debate and behaves autocratic. I also note the statement by the Honorable Prime Minister that there will be an announcement on final salary increases for doctors this week. This does little to allay the concerns of the public when medical consumables and pharmaceuticals are still in short supply. Everywhere, in all the hospitals, Lambasa Hospital, you go to all the hospitals. On the matter of salary increases for doctors, I'd be grateful if we could hear about salaries for our psychiatric medical specialists and whether their proposed salaries are on par with the doctors. It's a real fact. Medicine is running out in all the hospitals. I visit the Lambasa Hospital with a lot of people who are very, very affected by this. I don't have to produce evidence. You people don't produce evidence. Additionally, Madam Speaker, parliaments need to be I'm an honorable person. I'm not going to come and lie. I'm not going to go and campaign offering things. Madam Speaker, on the matter of salary increases for doctors, I will be grateful if we could also hear about salaries for our psychiatric medical specialists and whether their proposed salaries are in par with the doctors. Additionally, Madam Speaker, Parliament needs to be provided with an update on the Makoi maternity unit and the long-awaited opening of the facility. Updates should also be given for the development of the mental health, cancer, radiotherapy institution and maternity unit at the CWM hospital, as it has now been 4 years since the project assessment phase. Madam Speaker, I also note the lack of necessary monitoring and evaluation of national health programs, given that the timeliness of these evaluations is critical to prioritizing of resources. Some of these reviews include the dental health survey, the National Profiling Study on Sanitation and Water Source Analysis, and the National Reproductive Health Survey. In Section 38 of the Constitution, if Section 38 of the Constitution is important to the state, Madam Speaker, the issues I have highlighted need urgent attention, not rejection. The intention of Section 68 of the Constitution cannot and should not be ignored, and like any functioning democracy, it falls on us as representatives of the people of Fiji to ensure that our right to quality health care is upheld. I turn briefly now to the grave climate uncertainty gripping the world, Madam Speaker. I extend our heartfelt sympathies, prayers and solidarity to the people of Texas, the Caribbean, Florida and all those affected. Madam Speaker, our nation is no stranger to the unforeseen emergence of the fury of Mother Nature as we continue to pick up the pieces from T.C. Winston. Perhaps, Madam Speaker, it affords us the opportunity to escalate the international discussions on loss and damage as the incoming COP23 chair. We are all cognizant of the climate risk and insecurity, and this key negotiation matter will not patiently await the 2018 agenda. We need, when the need is now. We understand what we are talking about. Your laughing and your acting will not distract us. We know you are an actor. Madam Speaker, let us be sincere about promoting an indigenous people's platform on climate change and genuinely ensure that voices of our indigenous people, including our Rotuman people, are at the forefront of traditional knowledge and traditional science solutions to the climate change dilemma that requires many diverse opinions to collaborate on. Climate change is not solely about climate, green or blue bonds or carbon trading. In this regard, the legislative agenda highlighted by His Excellency last week again lists traditional knowledge and cultural expression as legislation that we should expect in this parliamentary session. I would urge his government not to list legislation that they have no real intention to bring to this House. In comparing His Excellency's speech this year to that of 2016, Madam Speaker, there are a number of proposed legislative changes that are repeated. There was legislation proposed in His Excellency's speech of 2016 on transplantation of human organs, which has completely disappeared from the list of legislative agenda. I'm sure our kidney dialysis patients would have really valued the possibility of kidney transplant capabilities in Fiji. And I renew my call for free dialysis for the kidney patients in Fiji. Madam Speaker, finally, the agricultural sector under this government for the last 10 years has taken a battering more severe than the damage done by Mother Nature. The Honourable Minister for Agriculture very recently stated that the annual average food import bill for the last 5 years was $778 million for importing food that can be produced locally. But nothing has been done to reduce this. It is imperative that a detailed and holistic review is carried out on agricultural produce like milk, copra, yangona, cassava, rice, ginger, dalo, sugar, local vegetables and fruits. Madam Speaker, on a few more things. One, for Lambasa, there is so much congestion in the town. As I speak here, I will put to the government that we need a back road in Lambasa to facilitate the congestion, to remove the congestion. Secondly, I call upon the Minister for Urban Development and Municipal to put into practice and bring about the elections for the town and city councils very urgently. The Fiji Road Authority, Madam Speaker, indeed, our budgetary provisions for national roads, jetties, ports and airports have been so huge now that despite with that money, the progress is very, very slow. This is just what I overheard somebody. If the contractors get a contract for $14 for digging a meter of drain, they charge $14. but they go and subcontract it for $8 or $6 and $7, then that subcontractor subcontracts to another contractor for $5, for $3.50. No. Because I cannot say directly what I want them to do. What I am saying is, go and investigate the Fiji Road Authority, go and investigate the contractors, go and investigate them. You have the power to do it. Just like you investigate other people, investigate them. Madam Speaker, in the no one left behind scheme of the government, this is a sustainable development program, and this comes from the GOPEC, from the UNDP, and you know, all the governments, just like the millennium goals that were there before, now is this SDG. Governments are doing it. Every government that is a member country, they do it. And they are just blowing whistle. Bani Marama, I've done this. Bani Marama government, my government, it's not my government. Nebuchadnezzar, when he said, this is Babylon the Great, when I made with my hands, you know what God did? Made him into an animal. Job, the book of Job says, God, without inquiry, shatters the mighty and reduces them to nothing and replaces them with others. The prophet Isaiah said, you know, God, he pulls down powerful rulers and reduces them to nothing. You may have the military might. You may have the acting skills in parliament. You may have the skills of saying many things. But that when God comes into power, just like the man there, he said, there's a first bell, 2 more minutes. You know, about Goliath. David was able to defeat that giant. And I'm telling you, we, the National Federation Party, will be defeating the Fiji first giant in the world. Madam Speaker, it is another very important thing in this nation is this. The media decree needs to be repealed. The media in Fiji needs to be free. They should be able to report everything that is happening in the ground. Not only what the government does, but what the people are aggravated with, what affects the people, what is lacking in the society. Everything. There has to be a balance. You don't control. Fiji Times does nothing for us. Fiji Sun, you have 100 photos of yours in the Fiji Sun every Sunday. But nobody likes you. You don't have any application. Madam Speaker, for free flow of information, there is a famine of information in this nation because of the media decree. Madam Speaker, having spoken for the need for change for the better, I don't see it happening under the current government. But let me say this and declare that change is coming and change is inevitable in 2018. God bless Fiji.